And we're Hey, welcome. Lawnbot Live. Every Friday, we bring you the best and the brightest in the green industry. And today, I'm super pumped to have my friend Lisa Fiore with LandscapeHub in the house, in the hot seat. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kendall, for having me. It's wonderful to be here and so smart to have this podcast on a Friday because like your viewers, who's not always happier on a Friday.
I know, right? When we were thinking about dates and times, I was like, you know what? Friday at noon seems perfect on Eastern Standard, right? You're in Central. Where are you calling from? You mentioned you're
So I'm actually I live in Evanston, Illinois, but I went up with my dog, just me and my dog. We went up to Door County. My folks have a very small house on the lake, but it has Wi-Fi. And so I came up here to get some work done, actually work and get some peace and quiet. And so I'm calling in from the North Woods of Wisconsin.
That's awesome. And that's what we've been saying. We're like, we've been on a year-long push. We just need to go down, rent out a beach house and take a breather. We've been on a push since last October. It's been amazing. So welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you in the house. Now, for people that don't know who you are, tell me a little bit about yourself and LandscapeHub. How did you get to where you're at in this moment today?
So I, like many of your viewers, I'm part of a multi-generational business in the nursery and landscape or lawn care business. My great-grandfather was an Italian immigrant and started a nursery in the Chicagoland area. And I am a fourth generation. So my father and uncle, they're owners of Fiore Nursery, which is a nursery distribution center in Chicago. I started to work for them in the early 2000s, and I learned every aspect about the business and eventually took it over during the recession. And from there, I started to, notice the inefficiencies of the industry, and I set out to build solutions for my family's company, and that, of course, evolved into building, a solution for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, we have a lot of users that are family businesses that, especially, they didn't think they were going to end up in the green industry much. I think we talked about it before we jumped on the stream. Is a lot of people, kind of fall into this industry, for lack of better words. Tell me about your journey into the green industry. Did you always see yourself joining the family business? Was that a dream of yours as a kid growing up? Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's interesting. Yeah, I had no direct line. My path has not been a direct path to where it is today, probably like most of you. So I guess I did not have a dream to be in the green industry as a kid. I did have a dream to be a business owner. I mean, I think I opened up my first business, which was a art company, when I was 12, and I hired all the neighborhood kids, and we produced art and sold it to the community, and then from there I had a newspaper company, and so I've always been an entrepreneur, and I always saw myself as being a business person, but in the green industry, not necessarily. In fact, I was on a path to become a mountain guide. In fact, I got hired as a sea kayaking guide for an outfitter in Alaska. And that was my dream job. And I was headed up to Alaska to take a job as working for an Alaskan outfitter. And I got a call from my father, and he said, "Lise, he never pushed me, by the way. My father or uncle never pushed me or my cousin into the business. They left it wide open. But he said, geez, we've had someone on the team, just quit, and we really could use you. Could you come home for just a summer to help? And then you could, resume your mountain guide journey. And I thought about it, and since he never asked me, I kind of felt compelled that, okay, maybe they actually need some help. And so I went home and did that. But prior to that, I did take jobs occasionally at the nursery, helping with inventory. I took jobs selling Christmas trees for the family. But I also worked in other businesses in the green industry. Like through high school, I worked at Manfredini Garden Center. Placido Manfredini and Enrico Manfredini, they hired me, and I worked at their garden center. And that's really kind of what I like was my first experience in the business, and I loved it. So it was always around me. I've always loved the nursery. I have fond memories growing up in the industry, surrounded by other nursery owners and nursery families.
Yeah.
So I was very fond of it. But no, I did not have a dream to be in the nursery or landscaping industry.
So what does that company look like today, Fiore Landscape in Nursery? I mean, how many employees? What type of products are they selling? Is it strictly just plant material, or is it everything?
So Fiore, so we started out 100 years ago as a plant nursery where we grew trees and shrubs and flowers, and we were always B2B. Okay, we were always selling plants to landscapers and garden center and botanic gardens. And so in the 80s, my father and uncle transitioned out of production, out of nursery, and got into re-wholesaling. So basically, where their nursery was, it was being encroached by developers. And so they had 1,000 acres in Lake County, Illinois, and it was too valuable. It was they buckled to pressures of developers. So they sold all this land, and they decided to pivot the business and operate going forward as a distribution center. So they would buy product finished nursery stock all over the country, bring it to their 6 acre holding yard in Lake County, and then resell it. So that's been their tradition. So Fiore is known for high quality product, high quality customer service. Fiore diversified our green goods categories and got into selling natural stone and other hard lines in about 2010 during the recession. And so yes, Fiore is still true to their green roots. I would say they're just an amazing group of horticulturists in Chicago. Their main focus is plants, but they also have a really nice selection of hard lines available for green professionals as well.
That's awesome. So it's great to hear the family business is still going strong, even with you not there. And we share that story a little bit. I think, as you know, my story, I came into the family business, grew it, ended up retiring my parents, then bought the company from them, and then also left the family business last October. I sold it to my brother, carrying on the family legacy. Tell me about that for you. When did that moment come up of, hey, I'm going to go build this technology platform, or even get the idea, and then about because we both had to make that decision. You can't have your heart in two things. And then I knew we were growing Lawnbot so quickly to deliver on the promises we were making to users. I needed to be fully in it. So tell me about that for you.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever asked you about that.
Yes. And this was a painstaking decision. So we, again, LandscapeHub, the whole idea of building this database, the software to bring suppliers online, to make it easier for buyers, that was all conceptualized with the idea that this would help Fiore. And it was actually at a leadership meeting. We had a management and leadership retreat at Fiore in the fall of 2016. And this idea really kind of came to light. And from that meeting on, the seed was planted, and I knew that this platform was going to be built. I knew the software was going to be built soon. And I was so driven to be the one to do it. I didn't want someone else to do it. I wanted to be the one to bring this vision to market. And so as I started to develop the idea and think about how we could do it, it became very clear to me, like yourself, that I couldn't do both. Fiore was a multi-location operation with 75 plus employees, and that was on its own growth trajectory. And I realized I could not do both, and so I started to have conversations almost early on, from the ideation stage, that I couldn't do both. And my cousin and I were my cousin, also fourth generation, he and I were the ones kind of leading the charge. My father and uncle retired years ago.
Yeah.
And so my cousin and I, it was just very clear that I would step away from the business and build it. And of course, having their blessings and support, I could do that. And so I left the family company in earnestness in the summer of 2017 when I launched LandscapeHub to the market, and we got our first round of capital. And meanwhile, Fiore is my cousin, and a team of amazing managers are still kicking butt with that business. And I'm involved. I'm on the board. I have a monthly call with the family to check in on the business, but I am out of the day to day, and it's just because I can't do more than 7 days a week.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you guys scaled the team now. We mentioned it before the call, like 24 FTEs, right? Full employees.
Yeah. At
So
LandscapeHub. Yeah.
that's a lot of growth between 2017 and now.
Yeah. But I have to say it is like the team. I mean, I was part of building Fiore back up. So when the recession hit, we lost 50% of our revenue. And so we had to contract the business, scale it back. And then from 2012 on, I really, my cousin and I really grew the business. And so I recruited and it was a part of building Fiore and that team. And so I have tremendous respect and fondness for the team at Fiore, because they're my friends, they're my colleagues still to this day. And I really helped recruit them to that business. So,
right.
Fiore's helped LandscapeHub get to where we are today. They helped us in the early days. They were somewhat of like a laboratory partner, and they sell in LandscapeHub, and they provide tremendous feedback to help us improve the product. So a nice relationship, of course, with that business.
That's awesome. That's such a great story. And you touched on it a little bit. Tell me, about that founding of the company. When you mentioned you launched, starting a startup is, I didn't remember how hard actually starting a company was from scratch, like getting bank accounts, EINs, taxes, payroll,
chart of accounts,
whatever. I mean, it's a lot of stuff all at once that has nothing to do with going to win customers. So tell me about actually starting, like, because I remember you did a LinkedIn post and you were like, well, the first version of LandscapeHub I'm embarrassed by. And Reid Hoffman says that if you're not embarrassed by the first version of what you launched, then you're not launching quick enough. So tell me about that first version of LandscapeHub. What did that look like? Was it a website you built yourself?
So because I'm not a technical person, I don't write code, I'm not a programmer, I'm not a computer engineer, although in my next life, I really hope I come back as one, because I just think they're brilliant and they're problem solvers. And so anyway, so when I and my family was committed to seeding the very, very beginning of LandscapeHub, I sought out a agency to help me build the MVP. And it was during that time that I was working with an agency, a tech agency in Chicago, is when I met my co-founder, Chad Cooper. So Chad Cooper is my co-founder. He was one of my third co-founders. He's the tech guy. He's brilliant. He was at HomeFinder, Apartments.com. He was the early tech leader at Grubhub. So while I was getting the MVP product built through this tech agency, Chad and I got together. I sold him on the vision, and he saw the opportunity. The opportunity sold it to him, not me. Yeah. And so once Chad joined the team, that's when we launched our MVP, and that's when we got capital, and then we started focusing on building the team. But the MVP that was delivered to the market at the end of June or early July in 2017, we had like 10 suppliers on LandscapeHub, and we launched it to 10 buyers. Of course, because of my background at Fiore, I I had the network, and I brought the network together in a very rudimentary fashion. We had data, we had suppliers and their data published to the site. And, we had buyers that could build orders and hit submit. But once that order button was submitted,
Yeah.
it was, we got it. There was no electronic flow.
Yeah.
POs were not going directly to suppliers. It was my team at LandscapeHub. It was me getting the order, turning around, calling the vendor, be like, hey, buyer A wants these 3 trees. Can you provide it?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I would, there was no electronic handshaking. It was basically me being I was hacking it behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's like what the whole definition of YC says, right? Scale
Yeah.
the scalable. Do an MVP, launch fast, right? Iterate, and we did the same thing at Lawnbot. I think you reached out to me initially. Maybe you saw it on LinkedIn or something, but you were like, Kendall, like I love what you're doing. I get it. You got to move fast. I've never been in the startup world ever in my life, so like totally foreign to me. We had just won a startup competition that we'd entered.
Yeah.
I'm a sales guy by nature, so I go out and sell it first, and then we build what the market wants, and then iterate
Well,
along the way.
so a couple things. Number one, do you remember when we first connected?
Yeah,
So just so the world knows, so I don't know if you reached out to me or me reached out to you, but regardless, once we got connected, we were direct messaging on LinkedIn until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
I mean, just kind of going at it. And so I so appreciate that relationship, because entrepreneurs, whether you're building a tech company or you're launching a landscape company, entrepreneurs, like, oh my gosh, it is an obsession of the mind that overtakes us. And so I think going back to the start of LandscapeHub, it was painful to get something out that was just like this very early version of what was like in my mind. And so we sold LandscapeHub on the vision, and we are still not delivering on what it is that we set out to deliver, but we're making strides. But really, you just said it, building a tech company, it and my team who hear this can relate, and you can probably relate. You're literally jumping off the cliff, and or better yet, you're building the car as you're driving it down the road at the same time. Everything's happening all at the same time. And in it takes your breath away at times, but it's the most exhilarating journey, and it's not for the faint of heart.
It's something else. I gotta say, I mean, running a lawn care company at scale versus this, it's just, I tell it to people all the time, it's just different. Because you're, to your point, you're building something that doesn't exist. I can go to hundreds of other green industry companies that will give me advice. Hey, how do I hire better people, or how do I hire in a better way, or how do I get customers, or how do I market my business? Like, there's no script written for what we're building at Lawnbot or LandscapeHub. So yeah, I echo that 100%. It's like building the rocket as it's taking off.
But but I do think there's similarities with like traditional legacy businesses. I mean, I would imagine most of your listeners, small business owners, like when a client asks for something, you say yes. And even if you don't know how you're going to deliver it, you say yes and figure it out. And I think it's about just, we're driven to bring value, and you trust, if you're bringing value, that, the way to monetize it or the money will follow. And
Yeah.
so
Tell me how you got your first customers. How did you get those first 13, 14 companies on the platform?
I called, so I had the network from my Fiore days. And so it was calling people that I knew. And in many ways, having this built-in network has been helpful. Clearly, I could call. I have a massive Rolodex. I was able to call, Steve Worth from Kankakee Nursery, and he was able to take my call. And I'm so grateful for, Krista.
Was it a pain point where, like, of course this needs to be in the world, or did you really have to sell them on it? I mean,
I think so. Yes and no. I mean, I think everyone recognizes the pain around the supply chain. Everyone recognizes that, oh yeah, everyone speaks a different language when it comes to plants. And yes, everyone recognizes that the industry has to evolve, and that includes digitizing and selling online and getting connected. But I think, people I think a lot of people were still skeptical,
Yeah.
that what is this going to do? Is this going to, is this going to, how is this going to impact my business? And so, I think a lot of people are concerned that it might impact their business to the detriment. I think a lot of people are concerned that it might take clients away from them, or it might put people out of a job. And so I had to answer a lot of those questions, adequately in the beginning to get people to trust. And so I think people knowing me, knowing that I believe in that I hold this industry like close to my heart, and we're not looking to build a marketplace at the greater expense of one side over the other.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of marketplaces out there that exploit one side to
Yeah.
grow the other. And Chad and we are not going to do that. And so it's just getting people over the and technology, it's foreign to me, but it creates fear in people. And so it's really just 75% of the suppliers say yes, but it takes conversation after conversation to get them comfortable with selling online.
Yeah. So what's the sell to those people, on the supply side? I'm sure people watch this, whether on LinkedIn or on Facebook. What's the pitch to them? Like, why should they list with Landscape Hub, and what's it gonna do for their business?
So 99% of the suppliers in this space have websites. Okay, that's great. They're good at putting up a website and tell the story about who they are. But
Sometimes.
sometimes, right? Sometimes.
Rarely.
But 99% of them are not equipped to sell online.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they might publish a catalog to a PDF, or they might publish a catalog to an Excel, or they might have some sort of digital display of what they sell, but they're not enabling their buyers to um, shop or source and review product information, which includes pricing and availability in one spot.
Right.
And so what Landscape Hub does is, we bring together a curated, a handpicked network of suppliers. So that means not any supplier can just sell on Landscape Hub, that there's a vetting process, but we get them online.
Mhm.
Okay, so we get them online, and we get them in front of buyers. We invest in bringing Landscape Hub supply network, putting it front and center to buyers.
Mm.
Landscape architects, designers, landscape construction companies, anyone in the landscape space. We are spending and investing resources in getting in front of them. And so we started out by getting the suppliers in front of them just by surfacing our platform to Google.
Yeah.
So Google crawls all of our pages, and that helps extend their brands to the online community. But now we are doing these integrations so for example, we're integrating with leading ERP systems that will put their catalogs in the day-to-day workflow of landscape contractors, bidding jobs and buying for jobs. And so that is, we basically we help them discover new buyers,
Mhm.
and we help them, we give them tools to interact with their existing buyers in a modern and convenient way. So
Right.
that's really the sales pitch. I mean,
Yeah.
discover new buyers on Landscape Hub and interact with your existing buyers in a modern and convenient way.
And the benefit for the pro is that they're able to go online, instantly find out what's available, right? Instantly buy and order it for jobs. How does Landscape Hub make money in this transaction?
So it's free for buyers to
Mhm.
use Landscape Hub, so they can sign up and search and search the site 24 hours a day if they want. They can use it to search, they can use it to order, they can use it to build quotes, etc. It's free for them. We get buyers. I'm sorry, we get suppliers live on Landscape Hub for no cost. So suppliers come on and we get them selling with no upfront cost. We only collect a transaction fee from the supplier when there's a sale. So
Gotcha.
much like Amazon, it's a transaction fee that we collect from the supplier when there's a sale.
Okay. Yeah, I know from our days at Lawn Doctor. Here's how the buying process goes from the pro side. Let's say I need to order mulch or topsoil. I'm like calling, or I go online, look for a branch that's closest to the job. and I'm calling that supplier. Usually they don't pick up the phone.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, if they're missing this one call, they're probably missing hundreds of jobs, right? And it just seems like a totally inefficient way, which is what I imagine why you're digitizing it. But yeah, it's super painful. Like even to order mulch, there's a company here in Byron, been around for 100 years. Literally, they have it on their trucks. 100 years in business. You go to their website, there's a price. I still got to talk to Karen in
Yeah.
the office.
Yeah.
Let me get you a price there, Kendall. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
be able to order online, throw it on the MX. Let's go. I want it delivered to my house.
Yeah, it forces without having so again, I mean, all the suppliers in this world, I mean, obviously I want them to sell on LandscapeHub, but they should also, entertain the idea of building their own e-commerce site. However, building their own e-commerce site takes time, it takes money, it takes expertise to build it and then manage it and then optimize it. So you're getting that investment back as a return. And so, I mean, LandscapeHub is a no-brainer channel for them to sell. And so, it allows, I mean, a buyer before LandscapeHub, you had to call, text, email, you had to be active in just doing some research about what's available and then to transmit it. Then you had to babysit. Then you have to babysit all the back and forth communication with regard that comes with putting orders in for projects. And so
to be delivered,
we do all of that. We do
the driveway.
Yeah, so the marketplace is more than just this tool for discovering new vendors and discovering info. We help optimize. We help make their job. We help them do that activity with far more efficiency than prior.
This could also be a really low barrier to entry to actually sell online before investing a lot of
100%
into e-commerce to see, hey, is there a market demand for this? They could just simply add an order on LandscapeHub link to their website, and essentially, effectively, they'd have an online store via LandscapeHub for their products.
100%, and that's what I tell people. Like, it's no upfront cost. Come and join. Like, do some diligence. Like, this is dipping your toe into the e-commerce world, and it'll help you get smart about it.
What's the worst thing that could happen, right? They make some sales, some orders, right?
Yeah, correct.
So it's a really low risk, low cost, cost way to test out this e-commerce thing. I felt it. So I've went physically to places and then like nobody's manning the desk. Like when you walk in, like, hey, I want to go buy that stone out there, and there's no one to be found on the lot to like ring me up. And it's just like a bad customer experience because in this world of tech that we're in, I mean, you look at these products like Amazon or Gusto or Stripe, for example, and they think about the customer experience in their products.
Yeah.
Making it beautiful, making it easy. People, I mean, iPhones, people expect a beautiful and easy transaction experience these days. I feel like patience is going away for, experiences that aren't beautiful and frictionless. So I think we agree on that 100%. What's the vision, right? So you guys did raise venture capital, right? So you guys raised funding. The team, like we mentioned earlier in the episodes, 24 employees. What's the next 12 months look like for you guys?
So the next 12 months is going to be investment on the front end or the user experience. So in order to represent and sell hundreds and hundreds of nurseries on LandscapeHub, we had to standardize. We had to create a pretty large database in order for search to be amazing. And so suppliers today, everyone talks about plants differently. Okay, there's no academic or commercial standard. And so we had to invest in this massive database building. Okay, so now that we've invested 3 years we've created the largest plant database in the world. And this database allows us to automatically map the way people talk about plants. And so that now that we've invested in that, now we can scale supply faster. Now we can integrate into all the software systems that are in the ecosystem. So 2021, our core areas of focus, number one is improving the user experience. And number two, it's going to really support the integrations that we are currently building with our partners. So what do I mean about user experience? So, LandscapeHub is a pretty, it's a robust platform. We have this massive database. It's been built by phenomenally bright engineers, led by my partner Chad. But we just haven't invested yet in like making it more user intuitive, more friendly. And so we just hired a VP of product. We just hired our first UX designer. And so those of you that use LandscapeHub today, you're going to see some much needed love on the front end. It's gonna have a transformation. And so we believe the next year is going to, people are going to, I think fall in love with LandscapeHub because we're just making it look and feel a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah, it's amazing. Us as entrepreneur visionaries, we usually have this vision in our mind of what the product is supposed to be or look like. And then it's like the back end reality of actually carrying out. What I've come to learn, I have so much respect for people like Chad and Eric, our CTO, and the amount of work it takes to actually make something happen. You're like, oh, that button should be blue. Or this button should be here, or
yeah.
maybe I'm not sure what stack you guys are running, but like our stack, we have a bot builder, we have a dashboard, we have the front end that the actual homeowners actually use. So if you change something on the front end, it impacts the back end. And how does that carry out to, our integrations? Super fascinating because I built the first MVP myself.
Yeah.
Using off the shelf parts.
I remember hearing about that. I said, you've done what?
Yeah. So it was enough to like sell Eric on joining the team initially, but it was helpful for me thinking like a computer, right? Where does the data come from? How are we getting the estimation sources? And we've actually continued to innovate since that happened. So
but I think, I mean, that's been the biggest learning experience for me. I mean, so Chad is the best person out there to standardize the data of this industry. I mean, he gets data. And so LandscapeHub has been built and designed around this data component. And yet, it is difficult when you're prioritizing a product roadmap. Like, we have so many things that we want to build. Okay. We see clearly what LandscapeHub in the future is not just a marketplace, it's a network. Okay. Yeah. The marketplace is just going to be one component, but there's going to be tremendous amount of other solutions that are going to be part of the LandscapeHub platform. And so it's been difficult for me to prioritize what do we do and when do we do it. But we at LandscapeHub have tremendous conviction over what we're working on in 2021. And it's making the user be delighted with LandscapeHub, making it be so easy to use. And then, these integrations, it's always been the vision from the very beginning. We want LandscapeHub to be the connector between what contractors are doing with their estimating systems and ERP systems. We want them to be connected to the suppliers of the network, and LandscapeHub allows that to happen. And so integrations is really going to position LandscapeHub for exponential growth in the next 2 years. So that's kind of where we're excited.
I echo your excitement because I'm thinking about this from a turf supply source, right? Grass seed, fertilizer, chemicals. Right now, I know a bunch of owners that they buy their chemicals from like just websites online because it's cheaper there than going through a distributor, for example. So like when you start thinking about that and you're like, oh my God, there's like this huge market opportunity in chemical, in fertilizer, and grass seed, and turf products. How do you slow yourself down and say, you know what, we're going to hyper focus and just be great at one thing? This is our beachhead. Our beachhead is mulch and topsoil. And we talked about, you do pavers and stones and stuff as well. But how do you stay focused and, keep the eye on the prize? And then how do you prioritize? When do we go after turf? Is that on our roadmap?
So that, I mean, gosh, focus is hands down the hardest thing. When you see a massive platform, it's so easy to chase this opportunity or that opportunity. But our beachhead is plants. That is our core. We want to make sure we have every single quality supplier in the network on, and we want to be able to manage the workflow as it relates to estimating and procuring and getting plants fulfilled. That said, we have, I think, 300 plants suppliers on LandscapeHub Live. We have 200 hardline providers waiting to sell on LandscapeHub. Most of them are manufacturers. You have a lot of irrigation, a lot of lighting, a lot of chemical companies wanting to sell on LandscapeHub. So there's a lot of demand, and then there's demand. There's people out there, once they learn about LandscapeHub, they're like, oh, well, where's this product category? And we're like, oh, we're not quite there yet. So we know there's demand. So we have a lot more work to do on the plant side of things. However, our goal is to expand our product categories into the hardline categories at the end of next year, at the end of this year, at the end of 2021, which will include pavers. We've dabbled in it, but we haven't gone deep. There's a big opportunity for us in the pavers and the natural stone and in irrigation. The seed and the chemicals, we want to get there, but I don't see that in the next 18 months or so.
So just play devil's advocate here, what would you say to the person that's asking a question that this is just commoditizing the product? Do you think there's still, is one nursery going to grow better plants than another nursery, or more disease resistant or less disease resistant? But because I know from our experience, I'm talking to some pros and they're paying $20 a bag for the same fertilizer. This other company is paying $11 a bag. Yes, volume does play a factor, but same volume, same product, different suppliers. So you might have a larger, supplier. I'm not going to name their name on this show, but you might have a larger supplier that's at $18 a bag and a local supplier that's at $14 a bag. Same product, same chemicals. What would you say to that person that's worried about commoditizing the quality?
So I think, nurseries, there's been a small minority of nurseries that have expressed that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, does online sales like accelerate commoditization? Sure. I think perhaps at some point down the road. But I would say, number one, I mean, if a product is poised to be commoditized, whether they sell online or offline, I don't think all of a sudden selling plants online is going to commoditize it. If you're growing a plant that you can, I mean, every nursery has their own secret formula when it comes to the soil mix. They have their own practices to
sauce,
everyone's got their own secret sauce. And so, sure, there's some element of commoditization that's already occurring, that already exists in this industry. Okay. I don't think LandscapeHub is going to be this accelerator to the commoditization of some things. I mean, and then when it comes to trees, how does a tree that takes 10 years to grow, how does that get commoditized? I mean, I think thankfully this industry is somewhat, I think, safeguarded against it, just because of the tremendous cycle time it takes to produce a lot of these products.
That's true. I didn't consider that. Yeah, it does take 10 years to grow a big tree. I was thinking from a pro side, being able to shop 6 suppliers in my hometown, I know who's their margins, right? Like, this guy's making more margin than this company because they're selling the product for maybe double the cost. Same product, but it's double the cost. So on the pro side, it's awesome because I know I'm paying a market rate or an above market rate depending upon the product, right? So I think it's super fascinating that you can actually
So you bring up a good point. So some suppliers get concerned about being price shopped. Oh, Lisa, you're helping the buyer price shop me. It's like, first of all, it's happening anyway. Yeah. Okay, buyers, if you go into any buyer's desk, you're going to look at all the catalogs that they get at the trade show every year, and then they open it up, then they bring them back to their desk, and then they build their spreadsheets. And I mean, so the price shopping is already happening. That's their job. Yeah. Buyers are that's their job to find products at the best price. And so is LandscapeHub, are we helping that? We're helping it. We're helping the ecosystem conduct business in a more efficient way. And the ecosystem, is struggling for resources. So we're freeing it. We're giving people back time, which is very valuable.
Yeah. How did you guys handle Corona, or still handling it, right?
Oh,
I imagine that would help out the landscape suppliers on the service side of the business, the actual recurring services. Across the board, what we're hearing from companies is they're up on the year. Sales went up. Is that what you're finding in the landscape supply space as well?
yes,
I would
the
imagine
fact
more jobs sold, they need more supplies. So
Yeah, so I think the fact that landscapers were deemed essential in most markets obviously bode well for the industry. And then, of course, everyone's spending time indoors. They realize, hey, we need to make our home indoors and out more beautiful, and so that created a lot of demand with people to do landscape renovations and or do it yourselfers. And so, yes, the industry as a whole it just had a tremendous windfall because of COVID.
mhm.
I think when COVID first hit, it was no one knew how it was going to impact that. Is this going to be another meltdown,
Yeah,
global meltdown? I mean, so from a business leader, it was 6 weeks of just stress and concern and worry. Even though I had lived personally through the Great Recession, which was awful, it was stressful. And my team, we already are online. I mean, two thirds of my team was remote, and so transitioning because of COVID was really, we didn't miss a beat from a team perspective.
mhm,
But so that was, we've managed okay. I mean, we increased communications, we increased our meetings. It was very important for me to make sure communications was just flowing. I wanted everything to be very transparent with what was going on. I wanted my team to understand how we were viewing, how we were going to respond to this, etc. COVID got in the way of us on selling to suppliers.
mhm.
Because they're it got them excited. It all of a sudden, most suppliers had the conversation, oh my gosh, I need the means to sell online, but they were so busy. It took a lot of people until July or August to really kind of get back to us
Yeah.
about selling online, and so they were just overwhelmed, and that got in the way of us, onboarding and selling to more suppliers.
How do you get the good word out to everybody? Do you have a sales team that's calling these people? Do you rely on inbound traffic and just kind of a network effect of, word of mouth? How are you getting the word out for land?
We get a fair amount of inbound buyers come to us through just word of mouth, and just internet SEO.
Yeah.
We do have a team of sales folks that have when leads come in, we follow up with them. But we do have a business development team that is tasked to acquire and more than anything activate those buyers. We want our team to help introduce, do demonstrations, teach them how to use the site. And then we have an operations team that is amazing as well. And that ops team is there to help support, answer questions. And then they're focusing on making sure those buyers come back,
Yeah.
retain.
There's like two sides you have to manage, right? The supply side and the buy side. So it's a very different, I guess, pitch to each party. So
Correct. Yeah, we have two sets of customers.
yeah, I was curious how you're getting the word out on that, especially with an innovative solution like LandscapeHub. So, what do you think for the industry? I mean, I know we're both doing cool things. What else have you seen out there? I'm curious. Who else is shaking up the industry?
Um, oh gosh. I feel like in the last 9 months, I've just been so heads down. I can't
Yeah.
say I've picked up on recent innovators.
Well, that's all right. We'll come back to you on that. Uh, you know,
Rarely am I short on words, but you got me there.
it's all right. I sprung that one on you. It wasn't in the show notes, so we come from a space where, we're what we're doing, and entrepreneurs, visionaries, they got to be a little delusional sometimes. Like, I remember when I came up with the idea for Lawnbot, I knew it was a good idea. I knew it was such a good idea that I bet my whole previous 7 years of work. Like, when I
Hmm.
left that company, there was no big liquidity event.
Uh-huh.
I basically, started at zero essentially, but all I had was my network, and a lot of ambition and a lot of belief in this idea. So it's really interesting that, we are where we are, and I'm so thankful I made that leap. I know you are as well, just from talking with you. I'm so fulfilled every day just coming to work and solving the problems for our customers. Like when we talk to, a company that has 30 trucks in, let's say, Virginia, for example, or Florida or wherever in the United States, and they understand the inherent problem that they also want to sell things online, and it's needed. And when customers, even if they don't buy through Lawnbot, and they're on the phone with the company and they're like, "Wow, that was such a great experience," because
Uh-huh.
alternative to that is they're calling around to companies and nobody's picking up the phone, especially
Right.
in spring.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm appreciative there's people like you in this industry that are moving it forward, because I think it takes a lot of people to kind of lift all the boats at one time, and I think there's more room for that. What would you say to that person that, has an idea, maybe landscape or not landscape involved? What's some advice you'd give to that person to capitalize on that idea? How do you move that idea forward and actually execute against that?
It takes like 100% commitment, and it takes you need those around you to be 100% supportive of it. I mean, like yourself, I mean, I bet the farm. I mean, I left a comfortable lifestyle business,
Right.
and I put my whole life savings into this thing.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you believe in something and you have a vision around it, you have to be prepared for no direct path. You have to be prepared for rejection over and over and over again. And you have to be prepared for the loneliness of being out front. But if you believe in it, you just kind of have to just get up and go.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, like we launched this thing when the idea was just crystallized. I didn't put it down,
Mhm.
and so.
I have to echo that. Like when Masha, my wife, remembers, I came home from work one day, lawn doctor, and I was like, "Oh my god, like you don't even know how big this could be. Like this could
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
huge, massive, because it not only can it benefit us, I know it can benefit so many other businesses. And I don't have all the answers at this moment,
Yep.
but it was like a drug, like just thinking about the possibilities.
Yep.
Um, so it's amazing. I have to echo that 100.
But if you have an idea, you have to be prepared. I mean, especially if it's a tech idea, like it takes time and resources, and it's again this concept of no straight line, and it's not all like this. I mean, it's it's daily like decision battles. I mean, like we make 1,000 decisions a day, and you don't ever have the luxury of spending, of having full research on and diligence on all these decisions. It's just
Mhm.
you got to trust your gut, and you got to find, the support. You have to have a support network, and I know without mine, I couldn't survive the last 3 years.
Absolutely. Well, Lisa, in summary, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. We're getting close to time. I know you're busy. I mean, you got 24 people to go manage. Do you guys use Slack or what?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, same here.
Slack
Slack
is
open just constantly all day.
yes.
So I I I I know that you have a lot going on, so I won't hold you up anymore. But I appreciate you coming on the show today. I know that we've delivered a lot of value for people watching.
Well, you're delivering value, and I want to thank you for, keeping up the good fight, because I mean, it takes crazy people like us, and I also want to remind those leaders out there,
Mhm.
like that have established businesses, like it takes leaders of the status quo to help usher in some
Mhm.
of these changes for the good of the industry. So
Yeah,
be brave, be
and
courageous.
and it's going to be an amazing 2021. I've never seen all of our early adopter customers. It's amazing when you have 160 companies, all your early adopter customers, and they understand that it's new and kind of growing with the company. To your point, like if features aren't there or this little feature's not there, they're okay with that because they know it's coming. They know they've put their money on the right horse, so to speak. They're
Yeah.
okay because they want to be at the front end, the bleeding edge of innovation, right? So, Lisa, thanks for coming on the show today. We should probably do this again next year too. I
I
mean,
love it. Thanks.
and just look back at this episode and say, hey, where were you at last year? Where are you at today? You probably have like 50 people working for you and, tons of suppliers. But thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Kendall, and thanks for doing what you do. Appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.